I'm the Hooded Lid and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to continue with a plethora of new releases of foundations. And today's going to be Natasha Denona X, which claims to be a full coverage, long wearing, again, we're seeing a pattern here, foundation for all skin types. But it does say that there are powders that will help control your T-zone, which makes me think this might be drying on me. I did my sunscreen. I did a different combination today to make it a little less, what's the word, greasy. And while it looks really shiny, it doesn't feel quite as greasy. It says to apply with the Natasha Denona brush, Me No Own, or a damp sponge, Me No Like, for application. So I'm going to start with the fingers as I usually do. It's not as thick as the Anastasia or as the Fenty, and this is color 40N, which online it sounded like it was about right for me. It's supposed to be, I think, a light medium neutral. Let's just do a fast application on this. It read a teeny bit yellow in the store, but I think it's actually reading a little olive. I find that a lot of neutral, quote-unquote neutral, foundations read olive. To me, neutral doesn't mean without pink and without yellow. It means equal pink and yellow, thereby making it neutral. But when they go with the without pink and without yellow, it's olive. And that's kind of what this is looking like to me. The color selection wasn't particularly great. And I saw online people said this oxidizes and turns orange, but they were talking about the lightest shade, so we shall see. Application super easy. I'm going to take the Beauty Blender. It looks blended to me, honestly, but I'm just going to smack it with the Beauty Blender all over the face, just in case I missed something. The color so far actually looks pretty decent for me, besides being olive, but we'll give it a few minutes to see. But tonally, it kind of seems decent, and I'm not going to pull it down my neck today. Alright, there you go. It looks great. It went on easily. It is not as thick as the Anastasia. It's not as thick as the Fenty. The finish is supposed to be skin-like, and like those two, it's supposed to be long wearing. So I think these are all kind of the same thing. It's just a matter of color, finding a color that works for you. The Fenty worked for me very well. I thought the Anastasia was very nice. This one I'm not so sure about. It's looking a little dead, and I'm going to step into the other room to see what it looks like and what's going on. Alright, some immediate notes. This went on easily, it blended well, went over with the Beauty Blender just for shits and gigs. I looked in the other room and I'm not in love with how it's laying on the skin. So, not in love, but you know, we'll put on some other makeup, see how that plays together, see how it wears. I do not feel the need to powder this. It doesn't feel oily. It does feel tacky though. But I'm not getting too much shine. But there's definitely a tackiness. So I don't want to powder because it's too shiny, but I kind of want to powder because it feels tacky. But we'll be back in 15 minutes and we'll see what's going on. I may not do anything. And meantime, actually I lied. Let's do some under eye and see how that works. Yesterday I did the Bendy Avocado with the Anastasia, so it seems only fair that I do the same thing here. And just mixing these two colors and blending with a brush. Alright, works fine with the concealer. Check that box. And we'll be back in 15 minutes and see what's going on. Actually, I lied again. My God. A little bit of the NARS Orgasm liquid. And this is just a test to see how it works with liquids if the liquid's lifted off. And we've all been there before. It's not lifting off. I added the Dolce Vita NARS liquid blush because this color is darker than most of my stuff, and that usually means my blush doesn't look right. So the Dolce Vita is a little darker, and I feel like I'm now approaching a sunburned look. But this foundation seems to be darkening up, and it feels a little bit tight on my skin, which is a little surprising. But when you consider it says it has powders in it that will absorb oil in the T-zone, maybe it's not that surprising. So far, that's what's going on. And I don't want to powder it because the finish is okay, but it does remain tacky. And that's it. We'll be back in a little bit to check in and see what's going on. Alright, it's been about an hour since I first put it on. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and the color has settled in a little bit, and actually I don't mind it. It doesn't look as olive as it did when I first put it on, and that could have been my perception because I have so much redness in my face. So there's that, but there's more. I put on my readers and looked in a large magnifying mirror, and I am seeing settling. And one of the claims of this foundation is it doesn't settle into lines, but I have some lines around the lips right down here, up here, and I have some 11s, and it is most definitely settling. And the pores on my cheeks have that polka dot look. Now, I mentioned when I first put this on and I looked in the bathroom, I just didn't like the way it sat on the skin. It's another one of those things that kind of exaggerates every pore, and I'm not a person who obsesses about the looks of my pores. It's just not an issue for me, and I don't use like a pore filling primer. So if you have pore issues, I don't think you're going to like this. If you have lines and wrinkles, this might be a problem for you. And I'm also a little uncomfortable. It feels very tightening on me. So for me, so far, I kind of don't want to powder this because I'm afraid it'll make everything tighter, and I'm afraid the polka dot pores will get even worse. And I did finish off with a beauty blender, which should help with that, and it didn't. I'm going to give it a little bit of a test with some powder blush without powdering the face first to see if there's any problems there. I'm just using a light hand because I already have some blush on and I don't want to look crazy. Life goals. There's no pulling with this. I had resistance. I could feel resistance on my brush when I use the Anastasia and when I use the Fenty, and I didn't feel that here. So even though there's a little tackiness to the touch, there's no pull when I'm using a brush without powdering first. So that's interesting. I am going to try, since I'm not super thrilled with what's going on anyway, I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to try a little bit of bronzer to see if there's any skipping or missing. There was absolutely no skipping or clumping around when I did this bronzer. So it really doesn't need a powder. So that's my 1 hour check-in, and I'll be back. Okay, I lied. I'm back now. It just feels so uncomfortable. I'm going to use this Smashbox Primer Water. I love the sprayer on this. And I've mixed a little rose water from another product in here. So this should hopefully hydrate me up. It'll be interesting to see if it changes the finish. Oh my God, what a relief. I usually don't spray this much on. I usually don't use this actually very often, just, phew, I needed that. I'm feeling some relief. The bad side is when you use something like this and you feel immediate relief, you get transdermal evaporation. So as this evaporates from the skin, it will take with it the natural moisture or the added moisture that you've already put into the skin. So I'm not a huge fan of sprays unless you're just going to spray all day long. So you spray, it starts to evaporate, it starts to take off some of your water that's already on the skin. Maybe I should use the Tatcha Dewy Skin Mist. That might actually be more helpful. I think mine is upstairs, but maybe not. I'll be back. I found some of my Tatcha. The mist on this is weird. It's almost as if the product is too heavy for the sprayer that they've put on it. So you spray it out and it spurts out and then it falls immediately. So here goes nothing. Oftentimes I'll do this when I'm standing up and I'll just kind of spray it and walk into it. But okay, that is a lot. I feel better. I will check in with you again and see if this has done anything to degrade the foundation, but for me personally, this is drying. If you have oily skin, I can see how this might suit you. If you have normal skin, it might be okay. If you have aging skin like me, so I'm kind of normal, I don't feel particularly dry, but I really need moisturization, I need hydration, this might not work. Back soon. Oh my God. Wait a minute. I just looked in the mirror. My skin feels better, but I now look extraordinarily greasy. Not a win-win situation for me so far with this one, but we'll be back. All right, it's 11 o'clock and I have put on the rest of my face makeup. Here's my update. This is very uncomfortable until I bathe my skin with two mists. I did the Smashbox and the Tatcha. And then it was back to a shiny, greasy looking mess. I put a generous amount of powder on just a few minutes ago. So it had been just shiny, shiny, shiny for an hour. I used the Hourglass Veil and now I've gotten it down to a dewy look, a radiant look. To me this isn't radiant. Radiant is the area right before dewy, and I feel like this is dewy. So I decided to go for it. If I'm gonna be so shiny, I added some highlight, which I normally wouldn't do because I already have it. But since I've done a dramatic eye look, I thought I'd just kind of have a little fun. And that's it. So what we're going to do is come back in a couple of hours and see how this holds up. I've gotten it to a place where it is comfortable from using all that spray and looks good from using all that powder following the spray. So far I'm thinking this is a whole lot of work and that we're going to see how long it wears. Be back. I'm back. It's 4:30 and this is about as late as I want to go because of my light situation. This has been on for 7 hours and I have some notes, but off the top of my head I want to say this. It went on way too shiny. I put some powder on it. It started to get polka dotty and got into some lines. I sprayed because it was so uncomfortable. It felt very tight and drying on my skin. After I sprayed, it felt good, but it was shiny as all get out, and then I pounded on the powder. And when I did that, the polka dotties went away, and the creasing went away. I have a feeling because I, load this brush and then press and roll it on, and maybe that just kind of moved everything around, and then once it moved it, it set it in. So this, I think, benefits from a powder for sure. But if you find it drying, first you're going to have to hydrate it. And for me, that's too many steps. I like the way that it looks very much, actually. It's just, I don't want to go through that many steps when I didn't have to do that for the Fenty. But if your skin is more oily or combo, and maybe even normal oily, you might be able to make this work a lot easier than I did. So there's that. Now I have some notes because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to repeat everything I said, which I think I did. Okay, look, like, comfort. It's not comfortable. It took some while to get there. Coverage is okay. It's not bad. The final result is good. Oh, more notes. Tackiness remained, but you know what? I'm tacky on my neck too, so it could have just been my sunscreen. So your mileage may vary. Okay. I just mentioned all of those already. So my conclusions are, these three foundations come out at the same time, and I think they're going for the same thing, which is luminous and long wearing, and that is the ABH, the Natasha Denona, and the Fenty. If I were to rate them, which I'm about to, for my skin type. So of the three, I'm just gonna go for it, even though it's not about all three. The winner is the Fenty. I'm gonna try it one more time because, it's like maybe I'm just remembering it very well, but I know that I really, really liked it. The Fenty is number 1. The Natasha Denona is number 2, but it took several steps to get it there. So that's a pro and a con, and that's just for my skin. Your mileage may vary. And the number 3 is the ABH. None of these are bad. So even though ABH is number 3, it doesn't mean it's bad. It means for me, for my skin type. The color, none of these is egregiously yellow, although I just edited and loaded the ABH and it looked yellow, but I wasn't aware of it. But also, I didn't do my chest because if something's not transfer proof, no way I'm putting it on my chest. I don't want to ruin my clothes. And yeah, they're all good. So it really depends on how they work on you. The colors are not outrageous. Even the ABH, which is a little too yellow, wasn't horribly yellow. I'm sure if I pulled it down on my chest, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. This one appears fine, but I didn't realize the ABH was too yellow until I saw it in the video. And for me, spot on was the Fenty color. And that's going to wrap it up for the Luminous series. I know there are other things out, and I left my notes in the other room. There are several other things out that I would like to try, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I would like to try the Kevyn Aucoin Balm. That is very, very interesting to me. Shiseido has a new one, and I liked their last one. That's interesting, but none of my Sephora's, it's not available, within 100 miles. And I have a feeling it's probably just online. Charlotte Tilbury's is coming out, like 5 days after the sale ends. I'm sure that was on purpose. Milk has one, not interested in milk products. Nude Sticks has one, not interested in nude. Smashbox has one, very few colors, so nothing looked good for me. Laura Mercier has a new one, but her colors also don't work for me. I've tried and tried and tried. She's had so many formulations I was interested in, and straight out orange, so no, until she starts changing things up a little bit. And I think that's it. There's more foundations. It's not that there are not more foundations, but those were the ones that were interesting to me. And that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope you might have gotten something out of it. And I hope you come back again. Until then, I'm wishing you a great day.